It's been a long time since I've done a video. Things have been really busy here. Yeah, I just haven't had the chance to do any more frame cut-ups. I do have a whole pile of bikes to be cut up, including the Cinarello, which has been a lot of demand for. On the cut-up videos, I did also have a message from the owner of the Look bike, which I cut up. And I think he left a comment also in that video, but it is definitely not a fake, and he explains the whole story in that. So, but what I wanted to quickly touch on was one of the problems I've seen recently, and when I say recently, last 6 to 9 months sort of thing, where people have been having, like, they have a crash on their bike, they take it to the local bike shop to get their local bike shop to have a look at it, and I'll give you an example. So one case recently, the guy had a crash, took the bike to one of the big well-known shops here in Melbourne. They inspected it at a cost, mind you. That was a significant cost. They inspected the bike for damage, said no, there's no damage, everything looks okay on this bike, you're good to go. And so the owner took the bike out for a ride the following day, and the seat tube cracked all the way through just below the top tube junction. So clearly there was a delamination due to the accident, and often you get things like where your leg can impact the part of the frame and cause quite a large delamination, but because there's no surface indication, because it's basically a blunt object hitting the bike as opposed to like a curb or some other impact which leaves a surface indication. If there's no surface indication, these things are very difficult to find, almost impossible to find visually. So that's where you need to do an ultrasound scan or other non-destructive testing method to try and isolate that sort of damage. So that we see that sort of impact happening, particularly. The seat tube is common because your leg is right there. So when you get thrown off your bike in a crash, your knee can impact it. So we have seen also that sort of damage on the top tube, sometimes on the down tube, but less so. But also on the chain stays, we've seen that as well. So the lesson is that if you've been thrown from your bike, you probably really should get the bike scanned. So and I suppose the other question is that bike shops should not be making calls on safety of the bike if they're not certain of finding all the damage. So in this case, the rider could have been significantly injured from a secondary failure after being told that his bike was okay. So that's a concern. The other concern recently, it's been ongoing for quite some time, and I'm actually another thing I've been very busy with is expert witness cases on fork failures. So I've had a number of those recently as well. So, and they're still ongoing, so I can't really talk too much about those at the moment. But obviously a fork is a fracture critical item, and there is very little redundancy in that structure. So if a fork leg fails or a fork steerer fails, there's very little between you and then hitting the ground and basically going over the top of the bike with a significant injury. And so, you know, one of the cases I'm working on, the rider was deceased. So, you know, so there was involved with coroner as well. I did one of those last year as well, unfortunately. And another, the rider was very badly injured, and his rehabilitation has taken many years. So, you know, these sorts of things, you know, they're very unfortunate, and in a lot of cases they are avoidable by proper inspection techniques before the parts are being used, especially fracture critical parts like that. So personally, I would not ride a carbon fork that I have not scanned. That's, you know, the amount of flaws that I find, particularly in steerers, and also in the legs of forks is staggering. So I think this year, I would have scanned maybe at least 80 forks so far this year, and I can, yeah, off the top of my head, I'd say maybe 8 of those have been what I consider to be flaw-free. So roughly 10% of the items that I've scanned, for the forks that I scan, are flaw-free from the factory. And some of these forks are brand new forks. They've never been damaged, you know, never been even built on a bike. And you know, so there's no possible way that damage was induced during use, because they haven't been used. So, you know, just be mindful of the forks. And it's sort of one of the things which I get, it's very common. People go, I've seen your videos, I'm really scared about riding a carbon bike. I'm going to get a steel bike made. Fair enough, but then don't put a carbon fork in there that you don't know is good, if you're concerned about that. I'll be more concerned about a carbon fork failure than a carbon frame failure. So yeah, you know, it's a whole nother game. So on that note, we'll wind up there. As I said, I hope to try and get some of the cut up videos again going soon. It's just time dependent. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of time to produce those, and yeah, time is a limited resource. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.